for the first time, I get to read the disclaimer in the way that I like to read the disclaimer. So, especially for today's topic, we are not going to talk about treatment or curing any medical diseases or cancer or anything like that. This conversation is purely intended for educational and entertainment purposes. It's really important that we implement the entertainment purpose of this conversation. This is not going to be medical advice, because if you know me, well, I really don't need a lot of medical advice because doctors really aren't trained well. So we're not going to talk doctor speak. We're going to go over what healthcare really looks like. So don't use this for diagnosing any health or fitness problems or diseases. And you should always consult with a healthcare professional before making any of your lifestyle decisions about everything you want to do in life pertaining to your health, because someone else knows better than you. Obviously, that's why we're all here. That's your disclaimer for the day. But really, we're here to learn, here to be educated a little bit and have some fun. So this conversation today is actually going to be really important, because this amazing woman, when she gets here, is really the best one to speak about this, because as we talk about Relivegreens, she's the formulator, she's the creator, but this product was actually created based on her life experience. And we missed a couple things on this outstanding bio. So Dr. Christina Rahm is an amazing mother. She is a scientist, a bioscience engineer, actually, a humanitarian, product formulator, pharmaceutical creator, cloning, molecular design, clinical and medical science liaison at some of the top biotech companies in the world, like Pfizer, Alexion, Biogen, IDEC, Johnson & Johnson, UCB, Bristol Myers Squibb, Janssen, and J&J. And through that, she was also an adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins in oncology. She holds a master's in science, 3 PhDs now, an EDD, a PsyD, postdoctoral certification from Harvard in nanotechnology and bioscience engineering, 2 postdoctoral certifications from Cornell University, 1 in pharmaceutical management, and an additional 1 in nutritional counseling. She is an author, right, which is cool. She's published her first book, which is what many of you have read, which is Cure the Causes, which is kind of important for the topic of today's conversation, because you can't cure diseases. You can only address the cause and let the body take care of the rest, right? And this is what's really important when we talk about disclaimers and talk about treating diseases. There are none, right? A disease is just a title that's given to you for a bunch of symptoms that's correlated to a primary cause that the system doesn't actually want to treat or identify. We are focused on curing said cause and addressing the underlying problems. That's our primary focus. So her background is extensive, but what's more important than all of the titles and education someone can gain is the life experience we have, right? Because all we are is a culmination of experiences. Now, it's one thing to hold multiple doctorates and a tremendous research background. It's another thing to have Lyme disease when you're 19 and lose your memory. It's another thing to have a brain tumor and cancer with your first child and lose a child and have one of the twins that you were supposed to carry become cancer, and then have that process give you cancer that led to a spinal tumor and a brain tumor and multiple kinds of skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma, different carcinomas. So when we talk cancer, her experience doesn't just come from research. It comes not just clinical application, it comes from working to save her own life. So someone that was an adjunct professor at Johns Hopkins in oncology, that's worked in nanotechnology, worked in biotech, worked in pharma, on onco products, but when she had to deal with her own issues, she did so by going, you can say, integrative, and doing the research to find what were the best natural components to take to address the issues that she had. The product that we're going to discuss today is basically the culmination of everything that she had done prior, over a decade or 2 decades ago in some instances, to take care of herself and we'll get into that. Me, I'm the guy with the dog. And so my background, I've got 42, 43 years around integrative health and animal and human health. I've got 18 years of experience with a focus in environmental toxicology and detoxification, specifically surrounding clinoptilolite and its siblings, but also environmental toxicology in general, of understanding what the underlying, the true underlying problems are to the issues. It's amazing she's coming. So we kind of know what we're talking about, but more importantly, Dr. Rahm's got the experience, the acumen, and the knowledge to put these things in place. So what we're going to talk about is some of the properties of Relivegreens, some of the anti-cancer properties. Now, is Relive a treatment for cancer? No. But do the ingredients in Relive have tremendous anti-cancer properties? Absolutely. And we're going to discuss some of those today. And here's an important thing to understand with cancer. It's a natural biological process. It's not something to fear. Cancer takes place when cells don't communicate properly. When they become damaged, they become senescent. If your immune system isn't working properly, those cells will not die the way that they're supposed to. They'll begin communicating with other cells to be like them, and they continue to create chaos. There's the other side of the cancer conversation that shows that it's primarily fungal and parasitic. So you have two components that can take place in this issue. But what's even more interesting than that is that the majority of oncological research show, the really good research shows that the primary cause of cancer is environmental. Period. Doesn't matter where you go. The top research universities now will tell you that it's environmental in nature. So what does that mean? It means that the environment is what causes the disruptions, the immune issues, and the levels of toxicity in the body that lead to the disruptions and cause the issues. So in that instance, what is most important to do? One, you've got to clean up the mess, right? Which is why clean slate is really the foundation for everything we do. But once you start cleaning up the mess, then you've got to feed your system with the tools it needs to function properly. So that's really what we're going to get into today. And when we look at Relivegreens, the amazing little bottle of tasty greatness is a patent pending powerhouse of proprietary. I want to use all P's. It's kind of like V for vendetta as you get into that. It's a patent pending powerhouse, proprietary blend of organic, powerful. I can't do it. I can't come up with that many P's that quickly. Blend of organic, natural superfoods made with greens, fruits, prebiotic fibers, and then some, that supports the body's natural function to cleanse, detoxify, and rejuvenate, while boosting your metabolism to maximize the body's ability to support ketosis. And it's really interesting in these last two components that you hear, because if you read about greens products, or you've looked into greens products, you've probably not heard the metabolic, boosting metabolism and supporting ketosis, and why those would apply to supporting cellular function in cancer. They're actually really, really important. So when we look at the ingredients to Relive, you have inulin, right, which is actually a prebiotic powder. You have green banana flour, apple fiber, bacillus coagulans, spirulina, which is very, very unique. It's one of Christina's favorite things, which is a blue-green algae. You have wheatgrass. And for those that want to ask the question, the wheatgrass has no gluten, right? Wheatgrass, when harvested properly, is harvested when it's really young, meaning it hasn't sprouted yet, which means there's no gluten. So you have all of these amazing healthy benefits with none of the stuff that people would have allergies to. But side note, make note of this, people don't have a gluten allergy. They have a glyphosate toxicity issue.
That's what I have.
Booyah, Stuart. We are very sensitive to glyphosate once we've tried to clean ourselves up. We don't have a gluten problem because we can eat wheat when we go to Cyprus because they don't have a little thing called pesticides over there. And it's good.
Actually, do you remember the bread that guy had?
It was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, the local guy made his local bread, and I had some.
And you had some,
it was ridiculous.
and you felt really good. And we ate it with butter and salt and some of the most amazing olive oil you can have on the planet. And it is epic.
All true stories.
So we have barley grass and alfalfa leaf, which goes back to the wheatgrass conversation. They're early before they sprout, early harvested before they sprout. So you get all the nutrients, all the growth factors, everything that is nutritious in these amazing little compounds and bring them all together. And if you'll notice, there's the whole component of these. So what you're not going to see on the label or in the conversation with Relive is how many vitamins, how many minerals, right? How many amino acids are in there? How much protein? We're actually going to put the protein content on the package, I believe, from what Dr. Rahm was saying, because it's so dense and there's so much protein. Because what you're getting is all of the whole food sources. So all of the minerals, all the vitamins, they're not only in each one of these ingredients, but they're in their bioavailable form. So many people ask the question about vitamin K, right? Vitamin K is something that you can't supplement with, actually. You can't take a synthetic or an isolated version of vitamin K and have it work really, really well. It needs to be either in its natural form or needs to be combined properly, which is why there's vitamin K2 in mitochondrial support in specific combination with some of the other actives to make it work. But what you're going to find in Relive is all of those components in their natural forms and in their natural environments. So you have the alfalfa leaf, you have flaxseed, you have psyllium husk. Why is psyllium husk important? Well, fiber. It helps to keep things moving and mobilize some stuff through your colon. You have chlorella, right? Chlorella, very, very well published and proven for its ability to act as a chelator and detoxifier in the gut, which is always important. Broccoli. The unfortunate part with the broccoli that we have in Relivegreens is that it's not roasted with butter and salt, but that's okay.
But it's really tasty when it is.
Oh, if you guys haven't done this, I'm not big on the Parmesan, but if you give me grass-fed butter with a bunch of salt and roasted broccoli, actually, it's outstanding. We have kale, spinach, and actually there's some interesting things with spinach because the story of Popeye. Remember when Popeye used to eat his spinach and he'd get all his muscles? That's actually based on real science, because I think it's, I have to look it back up. I think it's ecdysone. There's a specific amino acid found in spinach that increases muscle development. So the cartoon of Popeye, whoever wrote it actually knew exactly what they were talking about, because if you consume large amounts of spinach, it actually aids muscle development. Kind of cool. Green cabbage, parsley, because why would you have parsley? Because every meal needs a condiment, right? And you just need something to sit on the side, right?
That's funny.
The aloe vera, and the aloe vera is there because of aiding in digestion and some of its antibiotic properties and a few other benefits of it, which we'll probably hit on a little bit. But then we get into cayenne pepper, and you think, wait a minute, this is greens. Why cayenne? Because here's a little secret. The heat from the cayenne pepper and the capsaicin actually improves metabolic function and metabolism.
People wonder why they lose weight from the greens.
Because it's increasing your metabolism because of the increase in heat from the cayenne pepper.
I'm 102 years old. Greens every day. This is how I live.
That's it. He's actually gonna be 600 years old when we go to Turkey, because we're gonna go find the Ark And he's going to be able, wait a minute, I worked on that.
So excited about
I
that.
know, it's so cool. I was watching that video you
I
sent me
know,
on that.
that's
That was
so
pretty epic. And you have blueberries, pomegranate seeds, and MCT oil, and MCT powder, actually, because there's no oil in it. Because if you didn't notice, if you take out your greens, it's dry. If there was oil in it, it would be clumpy. So this is the foundation for what we have to start with. So let's get into some of the fun stuff. And when we talk about the anti-cancer properties of things, you did this, you created this from experience.
Well, first of all, I know we've said that we can't make claims, but yet when it comes to me, I have had personal experiences and family experiences with cancer. And it touched home with me at a young age. I really felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to. I think most people with cancer feel that way, regardless of your age. But, you know, I was in my 20s wanting to raise a child. And this became a huge changing point for me because I worked with Biogen IDEC, which was Biogen, then became Biogen IDEC. And then I worked with Alexion, and I really focused a lot of my time on the medical clinical research side in those companies. And just to let you guys know, if you're ever questioned on different things about me, it's almost impossible to work for those companies. It's really hard to get jobs, especially in the biotech arena where you're working on human monoclonal antibodies on the science, medical, or clinical, or even sales and marketing side. So for me, I was really fortunate. I mean, I was thrown into a world where I got to train with the top leaders, top universities in the country, and got to do investigator-sponsored trials. And through that, I kept going back with the research. There were these amazing products that were being developed, but I noticed in the research that there were certain things, and you guys have heard me talk about it before, that certain things that were helping people that were not pharmaceutical, that they just were naturally taking. And of course, it triggered in me what had happened to me in my 20s when I did a lot of natural things for my body. And I think that cancer is a journey. It's actually not a journey. It's something that happens that does not define you. And it's something where you get to make choices like everything. You make choices who you marry, you make choices where you spend your time, and you make choices on what you put in your body. And I think that's what's important. And for me, one of the things I kept noticing is when people would go through different therapies, whether it was chemotherapy, radiation, or human monoclonal antibodies, whatever they chose, what I kept noticing was that they would say, you know, you can eat cake or you can eat whatever you want, just eat something. And I kept thinking, but wait a minute, isn't it better to eat things or take things that are healthy for your body? And that's, you know, so looking at everything, looking at my personal experience, looking at my choices I made for my kids, looking at the choices and the things I saw in the pharmaceutical realm, it was really important, again, to go back to how certain things were helping people, not to make a claim, but so people would be educated on understanding what natural things can help the body support what they're going through. So one of the things that I really spent a lot of time on were the greens and different greens that helped really detox things out of the body and then support the body, starting with the microbiome, to the blood, to the brain, to everything. Because I think something that people miss a lot is the body has this natural ability to protect the good cells and get rid of the bad cells. But when the body has a lot of heavy metals or toxins and doesn't have NAD or doesn't have these things that can help detox things out, then sometimes the bad cells take over. So one of the things that I continuously went back to was that there needed to be certain probiotics and prebiotics that people took and that were in their stomach, so their stomach could communicate through neurotransmission and through different types of receptors, so they could help the body really display these anti-tumorigenic properties. And what I mean by that is we can't say for sure what causes the body to get rid of cancer or to stop the growth of cancer, but we do know there's certain properties in certain types of ingredients that really help the immune system and the signaling of the molecules so that your body and you have a better chance, a more ability to fight. And one of those, again, was the fact that the prebiotics and probiotics were really important to this. We know that the greens, along with prebiotics and probiotics in certain studies with animals, have shown that they really help to prevent cancer. And again, we're not claiming that for Relivegreens, we can't. We're a nutraceutical company, but just understanding there were even human studies that showed that there were certain greens and certain things that people took that even helped with things like breast cancer. So today we really want to focus on what should you give your body naturally, not just the products that we have at Root, but also what should you eat and how should you help your body. I get so many WhatsApps, so many texts asking me, what do I do when I have this? And I want to say so badly to people, give your body what it needs to fight things. Like you look at Regina King, and not to point anyone out, but she's giving her body the good things that she needs to stay young and to fight any possible illness. So again, age is a number. Diseases and illnesses are things that happen to us, but they aren't the journey. They don't define us. What defines us is what we decide to define in our life. So I just want to give people the opportunity to understand how certain foods, how certain ingredients, how certain products can help people, or the ingredients in those products can help. Again, not making claims, but really explaining it. So we have on the slide the green banana flour. I love bananas. Most of you guys know I take it with the Relivegreens and the Give Me Back My Youth in the morning. I just absolutely love it. But there also is green banana flour in the actual Relivegreens. And this was because we know that banana flour, well, one of the reasons I chose this is because I understood that it helps with digestion. It helps with the immune system. There's been studies that show it even can reduce the risk of colon cancer. And so we just know that this is something that could help our cells fight things. It could help our cells improve the negative things and promote basically a healthy environment.
And a healthy gut.
Yeah. And we know that, by the way, I want to stop with this too. I know we're talking about different things that help the body fight off bad things. One of the bad things that comes into our body is diabetes, right? And we understand there's a component of heavy metals that are linked to that and this inflammatory cascade. And so understanding that if you can reduce the insulin sensitivity, help the body with weight loss, reduce cholesterol levels, that's really important, but not just to diabetes, not just to other autoimmune disorders, but to your body overall. And that gives your body a fighting chance so that it can really go in and provide what's needed to fight off the bad cells, whatever they are.
So we're going to see a trend in a lot of these ingredients that correspond to the metabolism and overall metabolic function.
Yes,
right?
Because we understand that the metabolic, or I understand, and I'm sure Clay does too, and you guys probably do too, that metabolic function is so important, that immune function is so important. And when your body, it has too much insulin or not enough, like when your body is out of balance, then you're not able to fight the things you need to fight. And just like when you're obese or overweight, it's not that I think anything about people when they weigh too much at all. I never think anything, but what I think is that it's not as healthy. So you need to continuously try to be your healthiest weight. And green banana flour is one of the things that I think can really help with that, along with the rest of the grains. And Clay's probably talked about a lot of those.
So this is one of the studies on green banana flour and its benefits. And the pectin component is one of the key things that provides those benefits in the gut and the GI with binding some of those toxins and such, but also improving some of the metabolic pathways of the gut to stave off some of those cancer issues and colon cancer issues.
We know that it can modulate. We know that it can actually induce apoptosis, which is targeted cell death. And, working in an industry where we would produce things that you would put in an IV to cause that, so that you could make the cancer cells die, was really important. But if you can give your body natural things that cause that signaling, of course that's important. And I'm sure most of you guys are thinking, well, I don't have cancer or I haven't, but I would like to take ingredients that really help my body be healthier and help fight things as things attack us in life, whether it's viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungal diseases, right? And most people don't realize how banana flour can help. And that's why I also put bananas in this formula.
When when you talk pathways, there's some people have the assumption that you have a genetic predisposition towards cancer. Is it genetic, or is it the epigenetic component? Because we have tumor suppressor genes that cause apoptosis, right?
Yeah.
P21, P27, P53. Right.
Stop at 3, by the way.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
well, we'll go quickly. But we have those tumor suppressor genes,
Yeah.
and it's really the epigenetic cascade that takes place that either those genes are working properly or they're turned off, and then cells become abnormal, they don't terminate properly, and it creates the cascade.
This is an ongoing argument with scientists and doctors because it is a genetic, there is a genetic or epigenetic component both to this. Doctors disagree on this a lot. And I always say it goes back to epidemiology, which is why that's such a hot word for me, because what is the cause, what is the effect, and what are the outcomes? And the truth is, we talk about this all the time. Our environment's toxic. I think one of the things, and I'll say this again, the root community is so educated and they're so smart, all the community together, that they educate people on this so we can help people throughout the world. I credit a lot of that to you, Clay and Dory, and all the doctors and scientists that have worked with this brand. But I think it's really important that we really continue this education. So going to spirulina,
One of your favorites.
My favorite, yes, because of what I went through. I actually really researched spirulina. I researched, and this is in my 20s, way before I was a scientist that I am now. I was a psychologist. I had a master's of science back then from the University of South Alabama, and I had I was working on my first doctorate degree in psychology. So I did study a lot of science, but it wasn't my main focus. I was focused more on neurotransmitters. But at the time, I was really into research and writing. And so I really threw myself into understanding how could I fight myself? How could I help myself fight this brain tumor? How could I help myself knowing it had metastasized to different parts of my body and not even being able at that age? I'm just being honest. I didn't have the ability to even communicate that with my family. Like, I grew up in a home, and I actually have probably raised my kids in a very similar home where you're not sick, you're going to be okay. And let's do things naturally, right? And so for me, that probably was a huge benefit for me, because even though I got this diagnosis, in my mind, I went to right away, what can I do? And I researched this phenomenal ingredient that was able really to help the immune system and could cause this front line of defense. And we don't have this on this particular slide, but I can tell you, even in that work, I would envision, I want to go back to that really quick. I would envision the tumor in my pituitary gland. And I would envision how small it was, but that it could impact my eyesight. Like I might go blind, or I might not be able to think as well. And I was very upset about it. And I really kept going back to, this is an ingredient that has anti-cancer properties. Again, not making claims, but so much research in the Middle East and in Asia and Eastern Europe really showed that. And then I started really looking at how it impacted the red blood cells, understanding how the cells give different types of tumor energy. And so I really looked at this as the first line of defense. I completely gave up sugar and anything that had to do with sugar, and really threw myself into the grains. But this was my top one. And what I mean by that is morning, lunch, dinner.
You have kind of a thing for algae now, don't you?
I do. Yeah. Oh, because the skincare line.
Oh.
Yeah, I have this thing because algae is very protective in the body. So one of the new skincare that will be coming out actually has a phytoplankton that's only sourced in one place in the world and utilized with a hyaluronic acid. Part of the reason that formula came into play was the fact that I've had so much skin cancer throughout my life, and really trying to prevent that.
Hold on. Let's look at this face.
I still have this one spot. I keep putting Restore
cancer?
on it. Yes.
Oh.
I would
pay to have skin like you.
Well, you wouldn't pay to have the kind of skin I've had to worry about, though, because it's been a lot.
You should say, you want to know how I got these scars?
I might say that, but This talks about chemopreventative effects of spirulina. This was one of the things that I kept reading, and we did not have all this research in the United States. And if you ask why, the United States does most of the research around the pharmaceutical industry and trying to really fight things or fix things. I wanted something that I could take every day that would really help my body the rest of my life, knowing that I had had cancer metastasized. So I really leaned on the investigator studies, which really showed spirulina and how they would even reduce certain types of tumors. Again, these studies didn't make claims. They just showed how the different ways it expressed with spirulina, how it attached, and how it would cause apoptosis. And then this is a key fact that I want you guys to know. It induced within 48 hours in numerous studies. So that meant within 2 days, they were having effects of this. And so that was extremely important to me and something that I really wanted to make sure that I put in my body every day, the rest of my life, if I could. And I want to stop and say this. There's some people that ask me about different things in spirulina that can be negative for the body. It depends on where you source spirulina. It depends on how you clean it. And it depends on how you make it. It's like everything in life. So
where the environment is, and
what stage you source it, everything. Yeah.
Oh, it's another one of these
Another
green
allergy.
guys, and you've got a little time. So
This is my last slide.
no, we have plenty, but wait, there's more.
Well,
But yet another algae.
yeah. Chlorella is something that a lot of people will say to me when they look at the Relivegreens, well, doesn't this cause allergies? And my answer to that is chlorella is actually something that has been used for allergies. It's actually something that helps with breathing. It is something that really can enhance the endurance when you exercise. It can actually reverse the effects of radiation, which is one of the reasons when people ask me, when do I take Relivegreens? I always say, listen, you should wait when you're doing the chemotherapy and radiation and then start it right back after, because I think it's really important that people understand that this is a food, right? This is an algae. It's like saying, do you ever eat, what are those algae packs we eat of the spirulina or do you know what I'm talking about?
Seaweed packs?
Yeah, the seaweed, right?
Yeah,
You're eating
because
seaweed.
I mean, algae is one of the primary food sources of the ocean.
Yeah, but for me, when people have done chemotherapy and radiation, to really try to pull that out, of course, we talk a lot about clean slate, but chlorella is also something that does that. I don't mention this enough.
So do pectins and all these other components. So.
I don't mention this enough, and I don't think either one of us do. We talk about detox of heavy metals. We talk about detoxing the body and cleaning the body from different things. It's not just the clean slate, but also Relivegreens is a very strong ingredient that really helps with that. And that's why I think I get WhatsApp after WhatsApp, people having a really amazing results from the Relivegreens.
And you've got some of the chlorella benefits. We'll skip through some of these so we don't dive in too much. Or do you want to talk about?
I want to talk a little bit because we have so many people in our community with colon cancer, and I get a lot of texts from people, and I sometimes, and I apologize for this, can't get back quickly enough to people, but chlorella is one of those things that there has been research in certain countries which shows that it stops the proliferation, so the growth, right? Because it has different things that are that really can cause the sudden cell death, apoptosis, but can also stop that proliferation. And all of that's not on what we put on here, but I do want you guys to know that that's one of the reasons I chose it. I really wanted something that was composed of different types of signaling that could help your body stop the negative signaling. So believe it or not, each one of these ingredients kind of talks in your body. They each go through different pathways to either be processed or come out of the body. So it's really important that as a scientist that I understood that, and I want you guys to understand it. This is a particular ingredient that really does have the ability. Now it is dose dependent, I want to say that, but it does have the ability to really help with certain things. That's why when people ask me about how many times to take Relivegreens, I take it once a day. But if people that have certain things they're going through want to take it 3 times a day, like I did in my 20s, and I do sometimes now, then absolutely it is okay.
And you've got, how many servings we got in here? There's 30 servings. So that says 1.5 teaspoons. So there's actually like 45 servings per bottle.
Unless you take more than one a day or use more like I do. Like sometimes I take more than what's the recommended dose, and I've talked to you guys about that with giving me about my youth and with the
We do,
Relivegreens. You do too, yeah.
because it's tasty. Oh, no, we
Love
go
the
from
flaxseed.
algae into what my grandmother used to say is the flax seeds.
My grandmother used to keep this
Oh my God.
by her stove, and my grandmother, who lived, I think, to 96, my great grandmother, I think 98, which I know now we can live longer, but this was something they always put in their food. And I like the taste of flaxseed, but it always get in my teeth. And so I really wanted to include it, knowing how important the fiber is, knowing how important it is to really protect the body, and to also, again, you can see a theme here: lowering cholesterol levels, reducing blood pressure, stabilizing blood sugar levels, managing weight. Why do all these ingredients do that? Because all those things, high cholesterol level, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, weight, cause different things like cancer.
And those
right?
are all symptoms of, you can say, dysbiosis, or an imbalance in the body due to toxicity and improper function.
Yes. So it's really important to be able to give your bodies. This is something that I still have at my house. I still use in food, but it is included in the Relivegreens
So
as well.
we've hit on a lot about lowering cholesterol, and I think this is a term that is misused in many aspects, because you actually don't want to truly lower cholesterol, because the primary source of cholesterol in the body happens to be the brain. And you don't want to lower cholesterol, but you want to have a good balance of HDL and LDL.
Yeah, but
So
Clay, there are some times where people
You don't want excessive levels,
no. Mm-mm.
but you want to have good levels of cholesterol, and you want to have good levels of fat, which is why you need butter, because butter lubricates everything.
Yeah, it's the combination of having high cholesterol and having high blood pressure and stuff like that that causes the problem.
Yes.
It's the combination.
Oh, so you saying flax seeds actually have benefits for breast health? And
They also, and I think people should know this, I'm working on something for growth factors. So flaxseed is one of those things that can actually help with growth factors. And it's also known to really help inhibit the growth or metastasizing of things. So the problem with cancer is, let's say you have a tumor, or it's in one part of the body, it will talk to the cells, it will go into the lymph nodes, and it will grow, it'll metastasize. So you've got to stop that signal, and you got to cut it off. And that's one of the reasons that flaxseed, as well as the other ones, were used. I want to point to the fourth bullet. It talks about lung weight, which is the metastatic tumor load. And it talks about how basically there were some studies that showed, and I think there's more than one, but this is the one we're talking about right now, that there was a reduction in the expression, and that the group that was taking the flaxseed, they were primarily lower. And that's really important, because the issue is this growth factor that happens causes cancer to grow, right? There's certain factors, when you look at them, they work like in unison to cause things to grow that shouldn't be there. And so lowering that is really important.
And those are those insulin growth factors.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's why you want to control insulin. Is probably also the reason that well, not the reason, but one of the primary reasons that you're told, if you're talking to a good practitioner or a healthcare professional, that they tell you don't eat sugar.
Yeah.
When you're in a battle with crazy cancer, because that's going to screw up your insulin levels. The insulin growth factors go nuts, which causes growth cancer.
Right. And so one of the reasons people take flaxseed is it downregulates the insulin. And so it really helps the growth factor not be high, so that your body can fight things.
Oh, this is a fun word. Can we say bacillus coagulans together? What is that?
Okay, I'm really bad at saying this.
I know, but what is it? Is it
it's a probiotic.
One of the many probiotics?
It's used to treat GI. I've done a lot of pre and probiotics. Any of you guys that know me in the past know that I've worked on them, and I really believe in pre and probiotics. We included it in the Relivegreens. I actually have it naturally in products that we have too, but I wanted to add extra to this particular formulation because I really needed the 1, 2, 3 punch. And I wanted to make sure that people that were sick, that really needed their body to have that extra help, could have it in this particular product. And this probiotic is known, and there's not a lot on here about it, but it has been effective in some studies with apoptosis of cancer cells. It's also known to really help certain types of cancer as far as stopping, again, the cell proliferation. And I want to say this again, it's the cells talking. The cancer cell says, you need to look like me. And then the good cell says, no, I don't want to. And then the cancer cell again says it again, and it can actually persuade the other cell to become cancerous. So you got to stop that proliferation.
You're saying that I was kind of cancerous initially because I was quite persuasive in getting you to like me.
I don't think if you like cancer, no.
Oh, okay. It's fine.
I don't think of you like that at all.
Oh, okay, that's good.
But I am saying that you've got to.
I'm your huckleberry, but you have blueberries in here. Some people say it's I'm your huckleberry, which is actually not true. It's your hucklebearer. But why'd you put blueberries in here?
Because blueberries are really important and they help prevent DNA damage. So
is that important today?
I'm a huge person about the DNA. So I always want to protect the DNA. And one of the things that happens is if you don't protect it, again, the signaling happens and the cancer will grow. So I wanted to put in something that would really help again with insulin, help again with blood pressure, cholesterol, cognitive functioning. But I really wanted to also add a prebiotic. So people always say to me, what are the prebiotics in Relivegreens? This is one of them. Blueberries are prebiotics the way I made them so that it could actually, in a prebiotic, helps feed the probiotic so it works even better. So that was another reason.
And one of the popular words in today's world when it comes to supplements and such happens to be quercetin.
Yes. And another one of my favorites.
And blueberries just happen to be.
Which is why I always say to people there actually is quercetin in the Relivegreens. Yes, we have a product that I made that really has it localized and isolated, but it actually is in this particular formula as well. Just like protein and fiber and all kinds of omegas are in this particular protein. And people have asked why, or a particular product, why haven't you added that into the label? And I think we need to when we reorder so that people know exactly what they're getting when they order.
It's rather difficult though, because you're using the whole food sources. So I mean, you'd have to break down the chemical profile of every ingredient, which is going to be extensive, and then we'd have to have a label that opens up, and it would be a long read. And while many of our community would love to read it, I don't think it's really necessary. If you want to geek out and you want to know everything that you're getting, take some time, look up every single item on here.
Well,
we
have all that if they need it.
Well, yeah,
we're trying to show it.
Do that.
All right,
so we got a reference.
We got done.
We
in time.
did it. Slap hands. We dominated.
We sorry, we had they booked me today, like every 30 minutes to an hour. You guys don't know this, so this shows you the real me. I work out in the mornings, and then I did not bring shoes, so I have socks on today. And I'm showing you guys because one of the things I always tell people is, you know, on social media, you either make someone look like the hero or the villain. And the truth is we're all just people and we're all in this together. And I'm so thankful for this community. I always look forward to seeing everyone. It makes my day when I see you guys smile. I actually miss people. Now it's hard when I like Birgit is not moving or when Peter, like sometimes they don't move because they put their pictures up. Yeah, right. And they're not the people. I see Sandy. I see all of you guys. I miss you. And I
can't find a picture of me that looks good, so I have to be live.
I don't know how to add my picture, but I guess that they could. But I'm very thankful. You guys, I want to tell you and talk about knocking it out of the ballpark. I was hoping Dory could do this today with us, but this was like a last minute thing. And Clayton and Dory were going to do it. Then I had to run in and do it because she was busy. But it's so great to see everyone on this call. And it's so great. All the things you guys are doing. I do want to say this. So I know this last week we had this major thing about ISNS and the case studies. And I want to say, so the members of ISNS, first of all, please know I don't get mad at anyone. I'm not mad. I get worried that we'll do something that will hurt the community. But with ISNS, I do want people to join because it's a separate community. We actually just got a new project today that we should start in the next month with a water that'll be interesting to expose everyone to. And again, 100% credit goes to this community and really want to thank you guys. Very excited to launch the skincare line and the toothpaste. And then just so you guys know, Clay has me now working on some other formulas that I think you guys will be really excited about. He said to me, Christina, I want something that can help as we age with growth hormone. I want something that can help with peptides. He wants all these different things. And so I'm working on that right now. And again, the goal is for this community to have everything that we can have to help our own lives and our families' lives and then others.
So we really don't need to eat, and you got to go.
I got to go.
I love you.
I love you
Go
too.
have fun. I'll see you in a minute. I'm just going to say goodbye to the rest of the
Without my
familia.
shoes.
So hopefully we were informative. And if you haven't had any of this yet, you should get some. And what's crazy is if you've looked at all of the other greens products on the market, none of them are this size, right? Everyone else, you have to get a tub of stuff. And what's really important is you only need a teaspoon. And like she said, depending upon your needs, you might need more than 1 teaspoon a day. But really just a teaspoon is good because there's no fillers in this. What we just went through, the ingredients on the label, there's no extra fillers. It's just all really good stuff and it's highly dense. And so you get a lot in a little. Almost like some of these other cultures that take very small amounts of highly nutritious components to make sure they get everything they need on a daily basis. Because one of the things that you'll see over time, as Christina was just mentioning, with a couple of these final little fine-tuning pieces that we want from a formulaic standpoint, that you won't need to go anywhere else. It doesn't matter what goes on in the world. If someone's trying to control what's on farms and, you know, what's being put on the shelves in grocery stores and whatnot, you actually won't need a lot of it, if any of it at all. It will be good. So you'll be able to have everything you need inside the Routiverse. And there's intent to that, the highest level of quality, but we'll be able to provide what people need for a lifestyle and a healthy, amazing life as we all create greatness globally. So hopefully I went back and showed everybody some of the slides that were being requested, because there was a request for the Bacillus coagulans and the blueberries. Let me see, would I recommend MDS in case of cancer too? What is MDS? Am I missing? Oh, Mito. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, since Mama's gone and we're still in the educational component, this is going to sound redundant for everyone, but I'm going to give you a secret. All right. Here's the secret. Clean slate. Right. We can go through, we could go through the anti-cancer properties on clinoptilolite. But here's the thing with clinoptilolite. Clinoptilolite upregulates tumor suppressor genes. It's one of the reasons that the powder, now get this, clinoptilolite is a little crystal. It is a rock. And when it's ground into a powder, it's considered a drug in Europe because of how powerful it is. Let me make sure that I explain that properly. A ground up rock in its powdered form is seen as a drug in Europe because of what it can be used for drug delivery, because of what it's been proven to do for its anti-cancer properties with upregulation of tumor suppressor genes and such. So you have that aspect. What is the key to helping the body stay healthy from cancer? The elimination of the cause. What's the primary cause? It's what we went over initially. Harvard, other top research universities, as well as doctors and researchers all over the world have shown and proven, as well as the Environmental Working Group and the World Health Organization before it was taken over by evil, is that cancer is caused by environment, heavy metals and environmental toxins. So you have to address that. Second is the gut, right? So what does Restore do? Restore is going to help repair the gut. It's going to help kill off parasites, fungus, which are also linked to cancer. It's going to create that balance. So you've got to have Restore. Well, what's a primary component that she talked about? Neurotransmission. And your mood your mood plays a huge part in how you recover from any type of illness or sickness, right? And stress of all kinds, it could be the stress you feel from being sick or being told that you have a disease that can kill you. What overpowers stress? Well, it just happens to be dopamine. And do you know what happens if you're really stressed? Well, you can't produce dopamine. So what do? You take your zero in. And zero in is like the one that you think, oh, maybe that's not as important. Not so true. I would argue that it is one of the most important for everybody. Next, you have natural barrier support. What's a primary treatment in the integrative space for cancer? Just so happens to be high dose vitamin C. Who knew? Don't need to go any further with that one. You have Give Me Back My Youth, collagen and colostrum, very protective, immune supportive, regenerative, kind of important, right? We just went over Relive, and then you have mitochondrial support. Why is mito important? Well, because as we've gone over in the last few conversations, nicotinamide, adenine dinucleotide is the powerhouse to run your mitochondria. If you don't have the energy to run the powerhouse of your cells, your immune system doesn't work, the recovery process doesn't work, you don't have the energy to function, and your body's going into chaos, you die. Simple. So this goes back to my point of which I brought up on Monday. If you have somebody that's been dealing with stuff and they've been doing different things, here's what I would do if this were, and granted, this is my educated analysis based on 40 years of history, 18 years in this space, and 7 years of working with arguably the smartest woman on the planet when it comes to bioscience engineering, because she is, not because I married her. But we are blessed to have arguably, she was only one of 19 people in Harvard's nanotechnology and bioscience engineering program. She's the only one that's worked at Pfizer, Alexion, Biogen, IDAC, Johnson & Johnson, UCB, Bristol Myers Squibb, Janssen, J&J on cloning, molecular design, and human monoclonal antibodies, all these little good things, right? All these vaccines that have been doing so many great things for so many people. I don't want to get kicked off YouTube, so I said they did great things, right? So she is the only one with this amount of experience. She's the only one that dominated Lyme disease, brain tumors, spine tumors, multiple kinds of skin cancer, had a child she lost to cancer, had another child with cancer, took care of that. Her dad had stage 4 head, neck, and throat cancer. That was over 7 years ago. They told him he was going to be 6 months and dead. Well, he's still going, and he's 80 years old and dominating it. There's no one like her. So what you might want to do is listen to the one that's done better than everyone else, right? If you're doing other stuff and you want to challenge, stop doing all the other stuff you're doing. Test this out as a package. Watch what happens. You'll get younger. You'll become better looking. You'll feel better. You'll function better. And you might just be like Regina. You write a couple books. You feel 30 years younger, you look 40 years younger, and you start dominating the world. Who knew? I was on the phone with some people yesterday, and the guy I was doing an interview with, he's like, yeah, one of your customers and one of my friends just so happens to be one of the top mental coaches for some of the top CEOs in the country. She'd been working to write a book for the last 10 years, started taking zero in and knocked it out in a few months. She's like, and that was all zero in, and this stuff's blown her away. So we have the tools here to do things that's never been done before by a mind that has never been unleashed on humanity until now, because this is her time. I just get to carry her bags, and I actually have tendonitis in my elbow and my shoulder from carrying her bags when we were in Europe. So I'm still working on getting rid of that. I don't have time to go get treated because we're working so much, but that's what I'm here for. So you know what? Here's if we leave it with anything, since we got like 200 people here, and this is for all the guys, because there's fewer guys than women. Guys, listen to the smart women. Let's just follow them, and we'll let them lead for a little bit. We'll pick up the pieces where they're left off, and we'll make this world a better place. Because guys, we had control for a while. We screwed this thing up. We did pretty good. We ran it into the ground. Now we got to fix it. So that's all we have to say about that. So that is all we get for today. So hopefully we learned a little bit. Hopefully you were entertained and you were educated, and we didn't talk about curing anything other than boredom. So there we go.